walk down and flush them out.
Welcome to the Hearts of Men podcast, a journey into the depths of men's hearts where courage meets vulnerability and wisdom embraces integrity. In a world that often measures a man by his outer achievements, this podcast dares to explore what truly defines a man of character. We unpack the challenges and triumphs that shape men's lives, bringing to light stories of resilience, compassion, and unshakable faith. We believe that the heart of a man is a treasure trove of untold stories, powerful lessons, and profound wisdom. Through authentic dialogues and insightful discussions, we aim to unlock these treasures, one story at a time. So, whether you're seeking guidance, inspiration, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. Get ready to be challenged, inspired, and transformed. And now, to guide you through this journey of discovery, please welcome your host, a visionary leader and a true catalyst for change, Dwayne Dwyer, but we affectionately know him as the Mindset Coach.
Welcome in, family. We appreciate you coming in. And yes, this is the Mindset Coach's platform, but I am none other than poor man's Dr. Phil. Mr. Shift Happens, and we want to welcome you in to tonight's conversation. And first and foremost, I'm going to welcome my brothers. How y'all doing?
I'm good, man. All is well.
I'm good, brother. Ready to get it started.
I'm well. I'm excited to be here with my brothers like every week, have this conversation.
I was waiting on that. Yeah, he said, I'm excited. And that excited face he be putting on. No, I'm just messing with you. But we thank you for coming. We thank you. We appreciate you. We love you guys. And we never want to be remiss without giving a shout out to those in the chat. And we got Miss Nick D, Miss Lisa Dove Washington, Crystal Everett, His Divine Appointment, Miss Lisa Keys. Let's see if I'm missing anybody. Got us. Anybody else? Charge it to my head and my heart, because I don't necessarily see you over on YouTube, but we see you when you comment. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate your likes and everything. And we just appreciate your support. So we thank you guys for always showing up and showing out in the chat. Helping us get through these sometimes tough topics. Sometimes it's topics that bring light, inspiration, or whatnot, but we always have something to say and something to put out. So we are so appreciative, and we thank you for just coming on and continuing to support us. Tonight's topic, fellas, this gonna be one for the this one here, it's gonna be one. And when I read it, I was thinking like, dang, that's some tough meat right there. That's that tough steak. But like my grandma used to say, tough meat makes its own gravy. So we're going to have a little steak, have a little gravy, and you can have your own mashed potatoes and everything else to put along with it. But tonight's topic is Drama's Puppeteer, the invisible art of triangulation, and how to cut the strings. I got a short lead in. Have you ever been in a relationship, had a job, or just felt as if you were being manipulated or pitted against a loved one, a coworker, or whomever, by someone that you trusted, someone that you could confide in, someone that you just thought had your back, only to find out that the facts that they would bring to the table weren't necessarily the facts and came at a slant into their favor so that they can always seem as if their hands were clean, as if it was you and this other person that had an issue while they were sitting back pulling the strings on both of you guys. That's what our topic is about tonight. It's about that triangulation where someone else is manipulating. It may have been you at times. It may have been your mother. It may have been your father. It may have been your boss. But someone was manipulating you to think that this person was better than this person, or this person didn't like you, or you shouldn't like them, and they were the only person that you could talk to about it. As we dive into this invisible art of triangulation, we gonna pick this apart, and hopefully we'll come out of this thing even better so that we can identify, and not only identify, but find ways that we can go around it so it won't happen to us ever again. Fellas, I know you see the topic, and I know it's one that when I looked at it, I thought about it. I was like, man, what's triangulation in the first place? And then as I dove into it and I was looking at it, I was like, man, I hope I've never been the person pulling the puppet strings, but I know I saw it. So first question right off the bat. What is triangulation, and how is it used as a psychological or manipulative tactic in relationships and organizations? Before we start, I'm going to give the book definition. Triangulation is a psychological and manipulative tactic in which one person creates tension, conflict, or dependence between two other people to maintain control, avoid accountability, or manipulate outcomes. This strategy is commonly used in personal relationships, families, workplaces, and even at societal levels to divide and conquer.
All right. That's all I got to go off of is the book definition. So hopefully, I know that you are one of those people who one of the things I learned from you was that, there's the book definition, and then there's other different definitions depending on where where you go to look. So based off of that, I'm glad you read the book definition. I know Coach probably going to have a good definition that may be different from that. I'm hoping somebody got a different one from the book. But based off of that, earlier this week, I work in a high school. I was standing up there in the morning time, and the students were entering the building, and there was a young woman there, and some other young lady walked up and spoke, and then I spoke back, and she was like, "Don't speak to her," or something like that. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She was like, "She the ops," or whatever, right? So this some of their teenage lingo, so, and pretty much the gist of it was, how I remember in high school when if you don't like somebody, you tell so and so, "Hey, you don't like that person either," and that's kind of how that little thing was, the other morning. And I was like, I'm not in high school. I said, I don't care who likes who. I said, my relationship with this person is different from your relationship. So if that's what y'all want to have, that's between you and that person. So based off of that definition, that Roland gave, that's how I see triangulation, and that's how I see it being manipulated even as early as those teenage years. And if I actually want to think about it, I can probably recall some stories from the actually, heck yeah, in elementary level, it happens all the time. You'll see them the third and fourth graders say, "Yeah, he not my friend. Yeah, you can't be my friend either." So this goes way back to elementary and adolescent years. So I can definitely see how people can grow and start mastering manipulation tactics as adults.
Whew. I don't know. I think about it as someone who can take, let's say for instance, like Roland and Unk, there's some tension there, right? Not It's not full blown out drama. It's just some tension, and I go to one or the other, and I kind of fan the flames to turn that tension into uh feud between the two. It's like, yeah, man, because when he talks like this, he does, this, blah blah blah. I think every time he talked to you, did blah blah, and I'm taking this opportunity to create a larger divide to manipulate the outcome in which I want from the scenario. So I'm never going to Unk saying anything good about Ro. I'm saying everything negative. Or because he don't he don't hate you, but he don't like when you do this, that, and the third, just to get a reaction out of him. To and I the motives can be whatever the motives are, depending on the person. But when I look at that triangulation, I look at it as that it's just a manipulation tactic in and of itself. And that's how is it used as a psychological manipulative tactic? In and of itself, it's a manipulative tactic to kind of pull an outcome between two parties. Like it's triangulation, not because I am arguing with the two, but because I'm moving the strings. I'm pulling the strings and causing the conversation or the relationship to move a certain way. And the key thing I learned about looking into triangulation when I saw this this topic is Unk and Ro don't even have to be communicating. As long as I'm playing my part in making this divide happen, they can never talk and not like each other because of what I was saying. But that's all I got.
Yeah, I agree. It's sheer divide and conquer. It's really what it is. It's obviously when, like everybody pretty much already said, when one person is trying to control the narrative, and so there are some indirect communication channels that are happening. Like Gaddy gave the example of Unk and Roland, and he is being the guy that is mediating between the two of them, but he's not mediating for the sake of them improving. He is mediating to kind of keep them divided, whatever the case may be, because there may have been some insecurities that may have exist prior to. Generally, you'll see it a lot when you bring a third party into a relationship as well. Two people are at odds, and then they go get a third party, and then instead of having a direct conversation with the person that they have issue with, they're having a conversation with this third party. And then this third party is kind of like not only just participating in that conversation, but it's like fanning the flames of that conversation is being stoked, so forth and so on. So now it kind of takes away from the first relationship, and it's kind of, these two pitting against one another. So it becomes like more of a manipulative tactic to where they gain an ally based upon the original relationship. And now it's like these two against that one. So it's a very interesting and common concept that I'm sure that most people seen.
Is that something we see with like custody battles sometimes? Where someone is trying to, control or even, manipulate the younger ones, and then sometimes a new relationship will happen. Somebody got a new boyfriend, somebody got a new girlfriend, and now it's 2-on-1, and they're ganging up and trying to manipulate the situation, and especially when it comes to like the little ones and stuff like that. Is that sometimes how we can see triangulation being manipulated?
I think that's more manipulation, because triangulation, the person that's being the puppet master don't want to seem like they're a bad person. They don't want to seem like that. To you, I'm taking your side. To him, I'm taking his side. But I'm keeping you guys apart. So now I'm controlling the strings. And that's basic narcissistic behaviors right there, because I have a sense of importance where I need you to need me, not need him. Because if you actually talk, you'll find out it ain't what I'm saying it is. But I keep it to where I'm fueling your flame against him, and then I'm fueling his flame against you, so I can keep you guys apart. So, and that's how it works. Because, like in your situation, where the girl say those are the ops, she wants you to pick a side. As the puppet master, I'm saying, hey, I'm talking to Coach. I'm saying, Coach, and this is just hypothetical. I'm saying, Coach, Uncle Junior, he on your platform and he up there, he acting like he a coach too, and this, that, and other. I'm feeding him so he can build up some animosity, and then I'm coming to you talking about, man, did you see how Coach be looking at you sideways when you say something? And then you guys ain't gonna talk, but then I'm gonna keep being the go-between, and so now I have a sense of purpose in this relationship. So when I come to him, like, oh, I talk to him, and I talk to him, I'm keeping you guys apart, because if you come together, it's no more divide and conquer.
That's like the double agent.
See, I think
it's too much work.
I see a lot of people is talking about in the professional environment. I think sometimes in the professional environment, it's not always narcissism. Sometimes it's loyalty versus leadership, right? Me and the boss is cool, but the boss don't like such and such, but I'm cool with such and such, so I don't want to make the boss think that I'm go against them, and when they get the bad mouthing this person, but then when I'm over here with that person, I'm cool with them, and I'm kind of like, yeah, the boss is like, so you still kind of pulling the strings a little bit. But I think there's some people I think that do it because it's kind of like a guilt thing. Like, I don't want to shut the boss down and put the boss in their place when they start talking about the person I'm cool with. But on the other hand, I don't want the person I'm cool with to be blindsided about how the boss feel about them. And
you trying to
I could be leaving the realms a little bit.
Yeah, you ain't leaving. You're just giving a head.
Oh, my bad. No,
it's fine. We got everybody's point about their view of what triangulation is. Now let's go to the second question. That's going to dive into where you were going, Gaddy. Second. Okay. What are... That's second?
Stand by.
How? Here we go. How does triangulation contribute to division within families, workplaces, and communities? And we're going to start off with the family. You went to workplace, but we're going to start with the families. When it comes to families, have you ever seen how triangulation could work? I'll start. And I hope she ain't listening, because my mother's sensitive, but my mother got 2 kids. And sometimes my mother would tell me something, and it's like, then you tell my sister something. So it's like, until me and my sister started coming together, where we like, hold up, I was told you said this, and I was told you said this, and so we had issues with one another without even talking, without even communicating. And that's how sometimes in the family structure people want it. Sometimes people want that family structure to where they want to keep you over here, have a source of, well, hey, when you go down to such and such house, don't do this, and because they be talking about you, and then they telling that other person, he uppity because he was in the military, so he just see things differently, and they are still the point of reference points to both parties. You guys ain't gonna talk. Why? Because there's been some discord, some animosity built up to where I feel a certain way off of what someone else has said about you. So instead of coming to you, I'm going to continue to talk to that person because they're going to stroke that. They're going to feed that. Wait on you.
Oh, okay. All right.
I say yes is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes. I say yes as well, because when I think about family dynamics, is it's so often you see siblings, especially if there's three siblings, always one sibling in the middle, you know, who's always pulling the strings, and that's how. And sometimes it's the middle child, or sometimes it's the baby child, but so that they can get their way between the two siblings, right? Nobody wants to be left out of anybody's circle. So I've seen that happen a lot. And I've seen it where, the kids do it with the parents. I've seen all kind of different angles of family triangulations. I don't want to hold too long on that one, because we got different aspects of this, but definitely seen it, and then it's dangerous. I'll say that.
With the child in the middle.
Hmm.
Just saying, it's more common than, I mean, I know we don't like to talk about it, but it is what it is. When you have two people who are dissolving a relationship, whether it's just a situationship or a marriage, and they have a child in the middle, and what ends up happening is that one will speak directly to the child about the other partner, saying this, your mom don't care about this, or your dad don't care about this. They went on, they started a new life, they got this other person, they don't care about you. That is definitely one of those one a perfect example of triangulation, because in that instance, like, you're having this conversation with a child, and that child should not be in that type of conversation. If you got an issue with that, what that person is doing, go talk directly to him. So the indirect, or him or her, I'm sorry. So the indirect conversation that is happening through another party about the other party kind of puts the child in a conflicting situation, and forces that child to have an opinion or thought about what that adult, whether it be mama or daddy, is actually currently doing in their life. And the other side to it, you may not necessarily be given all of the information. You may not be given all of the facts. Daddy may not be there because he has to work. Mama may not be there because of something, drastic that happened that she had to go take care of. And, you're using that piece of information and sharing it with that child. And that child does not have the level of emotional intelligence to understand and decipher the truth. Why? Because they do not believe that their mother or their father will ever lie to them.
So, how does triangulation contribute to division within families, workplaces, and communities? I think that, anytime you have somebody, being a puppet master or manipulating the strings and causing that division, I think that, for some reason, when there's division, people tend to not really challenge authority, or, challenge really what's going on. And, they just stay fussing about whatever they're taking their own side about, right? And then I think it's easier to manipulate people, when we're talking about workspaces and communities and stuff like that, when there is division. So I think that, when you got somebody pulling the strings and manipulating everything and benefiting from the division that's going on in the workplaces and or in the communities, I think that's how triangulation contributes to some of the division. I think at the end of the day, some of it may have to do with power.
Power, or just them simply getting their way. We seen it growing up. We didn't call it that. We seen it on TV, whether it was on Sanford and Son. Every time Lamont would want to get ahead, all of a sudden Fred was having a heart attack. So he was playing on the sympathy of his son having to stay and take care of his father. Or on the Jeffersons, where when his mom would come and stay with them, and him and her and Louise didn't get along, she would do little petty things, and then George would take her side, and then she would hug George and look over at Weezy like, see, I told you, he mine. See, that whole manipulation phase, when it comes to controlling another person so that they feel a certain way against another person, is definitely something that we see in families. Where like I'm with you, Coach, when it comes to those children. When it comes to children, or children may do it against one another, to like, oh well, that's the middle child. You the baby, and now they have a better relationship than these two, and they talk more. And then what they do is talk about one, and there's always one that's gonna be the central thing, central person, and they'll be the puppet master per se, so that they can control the narrative that goes out, or parental. I know I'm a person where I don't like secondhand information and just to take it as is. If you say somebody talked about me, why you didn't bring somebody with you to tell so that they can tell me? Because I don't want to say, well, because when it comes to families, I say, okay, forget your mama. I don't care what your mama said. Forget your dad, or forget such and such, because I feel a certain way and my ego hasn't been stroked or my feelings have been hurt. So when it happens, I find comfort in you because I trust you. You told me at least. So that's where that is with families.
And again,
Workplace. No, go ahead, Coach.
No, you're good. I'm just saying, again, remember, it always has to be at least three people. It can be more than three, but it has to be at least three. The example that you gave about Sanford and Son, about Fred having a heart attack, great example, but it's an example of manipulation,
Yeah.
right? Not necessarily triangulation. So I want to make sure that everybody understand that. It needs at least three or more people for it to be triangulation.
Workplace, Gaddy, you were already rolling with it.
Now, so with the workplace, I was just thinking on the lines of people who do it because they feel torn. I think that's the thing too. Like, you do have some who are just manipulators, right? Some people who want to control a narrative, or they want to paint people as a bad light to the supervisor or whoever, so that they can be seen as the best one to elevate when the opportunity comes. But you do have those who, hey, the boss don't like such and such, and I don't have a problem with the boss, but I'm cool with the person the boss don't like. And so you find yourself in the middle of that. Like sitting with the boss, and the boss is saying, yeah, this person this person that, this person this person that, and you're there listening to that. There's somebody there that's listening to that, that's like, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't want to disagree because that's the boss. Not everybody has the nerve to say, nah, I don't think that's what's happening. Some people feel torn, and then they go back to the person that the boss was talking about, say, yeah, I'll be careful because this, that, and the third. But I don't think the motives matter when it comes to whether or not you're manipulating the outcome. Triangulation is triangulation. But I did want to throw that out there, that there is an aspect, whether everybody have their opinion, whether they're right or wrong, but there's some people who may be doing it on a professional side and just don't know how not to get caught in the middle without upsetting one of the other parties, if that makes sense.
You just, can I butt in? You just sparked something. You said, I don't know if I heard this right, but the way you said something really small, and it talked about manipulation is manipulation. So, like, can there be a positive triangulation, right? So can you, like, let's use another example. Let's use some of us up here. Let's use coaching Gaddy, right? So can I tell Gaddy, say, hey, look, man, some positive stuff, yada yada yada. Then I'm telling Coach some things, blah blah blah. But it is the things that I'm telling them I'm manipulating. But what I'm doing is I'm getting Coach to do. Actually, let me back up. Well, I'm gonna do the same example, but since this is Coach's channel, I'm using what I'm talking to Coach about to manipulate or to talk to Gaddy about, to get what Coach wants to do for the channel, and then eventually make the channel better. So at the end of the day, I am manipulating, or I am using triangulation because I'm pulling the strings of kind of both of them to get information, because maybe on the outside I see that the show could be better if it's this way. So now I'm talking to Coach, I'm talking to Gaddy, and heck, let's throw in a fourth person and call it quadulation. I don't know. I ain't gonna do that, but they ain't gonna work. But let's just keep the three people, right? And then, if I'm using it to make things better, would that be a good thing, or is there a way that triangulation can be used for good?
So I guess my
Just ask
initial
that.
I guess my initial question is that what you described, is that manipulation, or is that more so of advocating?
I don't know. I guess if I'm pulling
See, the
strings
question,
because I want to see a better show, or heck, then I don't know.
Yeah, to me, and this is just my opinion, it sounds more like
Mhm.
advocating than it is manipulating.
Advocating.
Because manipulating is all about seizing control for an outcome that only facilitates the individual who is doing the work in the manipulation, right? Advocating, like what you just described, is for a greater good. So if it's for
Everybody.
a greater good, it's more of advocating than it is manipulating.
Okay. So, all right, I got that part. Now, the other part of that is, I don't know, this may be the same thing, but can triangulation be used for good?
Triangulation can't be used for good simply because it leaves one person in control and other parties not communicating. And if you're in it like if we're all doing something and only one person is, oh, I'm pulling all the strings and I'm keeping you guys from talking, from communicating, it's so that I can be the big person. It has nothing to do with you. It ain't about you, Otis. That's, hey, it in a nutshell. I don't want you to raise up to a certain level. I want to keep you where I can see you, keep him where I can see him, and I want to pull the strings because the manipulation is not to better you, but to keep you under my thumb, keep you in where I can see you.
So the
And to
key word is the one person that's
right.
benefiting from it.
Right. Because in your example, like, and going back to the example you gave, instead of you needing to advocate, the other side to it is that, hey, man, go talk to Gaddy. Talk to Gaddy and tell Gaddy what's going on. Tell Gaddy what you
Yeah.
think, and so forth and so on. So that would
Mhm.
be the approach that should be taken. So even in the midst of you and I having conversations, and then you going to Gaddy and talking to him about the greater good of the show, even though that is for the greater good of the show, that is still not necessarily the way that it should be handled, because you should advise me to, hey, go talk directly to him and just, lay it on the table. So
But that ain't
that's
my place.
say again.
And that ain't my place.
Sure.
Yeah. Because if I know that you and Gaddy have an up, but yet I continue to keep you guys separate, I'm controlling. Hey, I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna talk to Gaddy. But if I'm your so-called friend, if I'm actually your friend, now I say, hey, let's come together and talk. Let's communicate. Because if I keep you separate, now I got a sense of control. But if I bring it together, now that rectifies the problem, and now you guys may talk more than me, and then I have a problem with that because now I'm not needed.
Got a question. You got a question?
I do.
No, in the chat.
Yeah, pull it up. Is it triangulation if you warn someone about a supervisor's behavior by saying be careful and be no? That's a warning. And that's being a good friend. Now, if you saying be careful, and then you going back to the supervisor and say, look, what's the name? They stay away from you. And now they both looking at each other and nobody's communicating. I think everyone should send shots out there saying, hey, watch how you walk around certain people. That's, hey, not watch how you walk, but you gotta, if somebody's messy, you gotta let it be known somebody's messy. But that other person go, no, I think they messy. I'm not gonna hold it to myself. I'd rather, and Gaddy know when we used to be in certain circles, I hated being people coming to me. Somebody come to me over here, somebody come to me over there. I was like, hey, this person said this, and this person feel like this. Y'all need to talk. Because I don't want to hold on to it. Because I don't want you coming to me with your mess, and then I'm in the middle. Somebody say, well, I told Walker this, that, and the other, and then I'm in the middle, and I look like I'm manipulating the situation.
So there's layers to this. Because if you're the type of person that sits in a supervisor office talking with the supervisor, and part of your conversation is about the person that you later go tell, hey, be careful. And then, you and that person, like, what do you mean be careful? And then next thing you know, you're talking with that person, so, about whatever y'all talked about, so forth and so on. And then later on, you back in the supervisor office having conversation with the supervisor, and then that person name comes back up. And, I just talked to that person the other day, and this, that, and the third. That is 100% triangulation.
Yeah. We used to call them, Two-Face? With little kids.
We called them a whole lot of things.
I told you earlier, I'm trying to.
I got you.
Yeah. And that's why in the workplace environment, you see some people do exactly what you said. And when we were in 220 in the military, people they wanted you to act a certain way, and they wanted to kiss up to the sergeant major, kiss up to the first sergeant. I could never do that. So don't come you kissing up under him, and then you come talking about him to me, but yet I see you smiling and kikiing and stuff with him. It's like, nah, my trust level with you is like, because nah.
So I know you guys already answered whether or not this was triangulation, but to the other part, do y'all think that that's on maybe appropriate is not the right term, but for lack of a better term, do you think that's appropriate for people to warn someone about a supervisor's behavior? Because me personally, I rather just stay out of it. Me personally, I let people figure out things on their own when they come to the workplace.
So it all depends on what you mean when you say warn people about supervisor behavior.
Yeah.
I think if we're talking about a brand new employer who just came in, like I practice this wholeheartedly. I let them see it for themselves, because I don't want to taint their perspective of what the environment is like. Let them figure it out on their own, so forth and so on. But if you got a temperamental supervisor, you know what I'm saying, every now and then, depending upon, how much sleep they got last night, what their interaction was with their spouse, and, whether or not they had a good breakfast or not, and they came in with an attitude, I don't think it's a bad thing to say, hey, man, y'all, Garfield came to work on the edge today. Y'all might want to watch yourselves. Make sure that you're doing what you need to do. Stay off the internet, surfing the internet. Don't be on Amazon. Like, I think that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying nothing bad about you. I'm only sharing with them, hey, look out, because today might be one of those days. I hope I'm wrong. So that's kind of like how I would say with it. Again, if it's a brand new person who just came in, let them figure it out for themselves. But anything outside of what I said previously, yeah, that might be a little dangerous.
Yeah, I get that.
Got it.
Yeah, I know I'll be forgetting if I don't get it out right away. But
Boy, the oldest young man I ever met in my life.
I know. He always calling us old. At the worst memory.
How does it work in the communities? Have we seen it work in the communities? I think communities, whether it be high level or low level, all these partisan politics. This person means you well. It's like, I think anybody who tries to control how you move versus how somebody else would want you to move, and they put that other person down, but yet you gonna shake hands and be smiling in their face, that's triangulation. Or you see it in communities. I grew up in gang infested areas where people would want you to, they okay with this person one day, but yet they coming back telling you, don't trust him. And then next thing you know, you find out they going back telling that person that you can't be trusted. And you wondering why both of y'all looking at one another sideways within the community. Both of y'all can't work together. Y'all can't walk together. Y'all think, oh well, he think he too good. He think he's this or she. I don't know. You got any examples?
I mean, when you talk about the type of community we grew up in, because I don't want to say Detroit and New York is exactly the same, but it's some similarities. You know, when you speak, sometimes I start thinking about home. But you've seen people who don't like certain people go back to gangs or whatever have you and say certain things about said person to get that person dealt with a certain way and cause chaos throughout the community. That's how a lot of, I've seen street wars start that way. I've seen all kind of beef start that way because there's always one middleman that has always ran to whatever side that they knew was going to react and say, yeah, such and such, he did this, that, and the third about you. He did this, that, and the third. He telling people this is his block or whatever the case may be, knowing that person is going to react and, creates an environment that everybody else has to live in and makes it more dangerous because there's more beef one way or the other. And I know that's to some people that sounds, minute, but that's a reality and where some of us live. That's an everyday life for some neighborhoods, But I know there's something else, I'm gonna let my brothers get in on that one.
So are we talking about how communities are, how they should be? Because that's what I'm asking. Like, it's a loaded question, and Abe kind of stole my answer. But before I go there, right, I want to make sure we're talking about how communities are or how they should be. Because if we're talking about how communities are, I mean, we have several examples, But if we're talking about how communities should be, then we get after the why those examples exist.
You muted.
Yeah, he muted. I didn't know what he said.
I'm like, is he eating oatmeal? No. I say whichever side of the cake you want to slice, man.
Okay.
You're supposed to say yes.
I know, right? I'm with A 100% on this. It's easy to determine when triangulation happens because in a community, and again, when you really look at what a community is supposed to be, you got to look at the commune. In the community, what you're going to have is little cliques. And why do little cliques happen or they exist? Because you have different ways of thinking and they have their own agendas and they do this and they do that. Therefore, they may be cool with whoever said community leader are or leaders are, but then they have those conversations. They bring the conversation back to their little clique and they share that information. And the cliques are loyal to them. And they become the go-between between the community leaders and the ones who follow them. So it's a very dangerous thing. It's like I guess my struggle in this particular one, not with the question, but the notion of triangulation happening within the community, and it happens all the time, right? My struggle with this is that in the beginning, for this to exist, they never understood what a community was to start off with. So now they become extremely cliquish within the community. Perfect example, you see it in the Army all the time. You got this pocket of resistance over here, and you got this pocket over here. You got what we used to call the E4 Mafia. You got all the sergeant majors sitting over there in the corner, the DFAC, looking at everybody and analyzing them and so forth and so on. But at the end of the day, the Army is all about coming together to become one under a unified concept. Well, if that is the case, why are there such divisions? You see division between officers and enlisted. You do certain different things for officers that you don't necessarily do for enlisted. So now the question has to become, is it the cliques that become problematic, or is the leadership of the community that allow the cliques to form?
So it's different for me in a sense, like when we using the word cliques, period. Because in every setting I've been in where there's a mass amount of people, where you can call it a community setting of some sort, cliques happen. I guess how they form and kind of like the motive behind how it moves can be different when we start talking about triangulation, but cliques form, and I think that's a natural thing. It's how people they find themselves not getting lost in a big setting, in a big group. That's how I think that's why we have these organizations. You know, you go to high school, all these thousands of kids. You have these different groups. They have these different. We all seen the movies. You got your jocks, you got your musicians, you got your drama kids, you got your goth kids, you got you know. But it's how people don't disappear in the mass in the mass setting. But I think so when I hear click, it just that always triggers in my head because I don't think I've ever been in an environment with a lot of people and cliques did not naturally just come together. And I think sometimes they come together because of similarities or similar likes or what have you.
Right.
I could be wrong, and I don't want
No.
to take away from
Right.
the conversation, but
And there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is when we can't click together. Like if you have your thing and your way is the only way and you don't want to work with us because we ain't doing it your way, that's the problem. Because if you are a gothic kid and you are a jock and whatever, we go to the same high school. Let's come together and sing Fair East Side like we know how to do it. That's how it is. But even there is, in the communities, there's emotional manipulation and dependency where you will see, and I've had family members where the husband will tell the wife, nobody gonna want you. They don't this and they don't that. And then he telling the family, oh, I don't control her. Well, why she don't come around? Ain't got nothing to do with me. But yet he telling her, don't go around your family. They don't mean you no good, this, that, and other. See, he's manipulating while sitting there acting like he's the good guy. And that happens, he or she, in relationships where that person don't want to seem bad, but they want to maintain control over what happens to something or someone.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So we're saying, and I'm not trying to derail the conversation, just want to make sure I heard clearly. So what we're saying is that cliques are okay.
People gonna click up with what they like to do. If I like to go out here and throw paper airplanes, it's gonna be 5 people out there throwing paper airplanes with me. But
You dodged my question. Are we saying cliques are okay?
yeah, I think clicks. Yes, clicks, because a click is just you having familiar activities and likes. So now you connect on those things.
yeah, and I think it's the motive behind the forming of the clique. Like if we came together so that we can treat this group of people a certain way, then that's when I find problems with it. If that makes sense. Like, oh yeah, let me get with them because they don't like him, or let me get everybody that don't like these people together and we form a clique. And now our motives behind existing is to create some type of discord or drama, if that makes sense. But if we come together, if we're creating cliques just because we gel together, we have good conversations together. There's some people I can't have certain conversations with, but it don't matter the setting, whether it's on the Sabbath, on a Sunday, or on a Friday. When I talk to you brothers, like we can talk about anything naturally. We don't force conversations. So if I was in a mass setting, I would eventually find myself next to brothers like you because I know that I'm comfortable with who I am in that setting. I don't have to I don't have to feel like I'm in the wrong place. I don't have to feel like I have to move a certain way. This is my natural habitat, if that makes sense. So I think that's how a lot of people click up when it comes to mass settings. But if your click's motive is to derail someone else or to treat someone else, exclude someone else because you don't like the way they look, feel, or what have you, I think that's when it becomes a bad thing. And I think that was kind of what Abe was getting to when he was saying like the triangulations can cause clicks. I think those type of clicks that are caused through the manipulation, you know, they have a motive that is negative. That makes sense?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the feedback.
Can you pull up Lisa's statement?
Let's see.
Second to last.
Yeah. This one?
Yeah. Cliques can become exclusive, leading to the marginalization or exclusion of individuals who do not fit in. This can foster feelings of isolation or resentment. This is the basic concept of what people have become in the church, what people have become in religious institutions, because you don't fit in, you don't dress like us, you don't speak in tongues, you don't do this. It's like, dang, didn't we come together for the sake of Christ? Hey, so that's our commonality, but you trying to make me do what you want me to do instead of what scripture tells me to do. So now this clique that you have has become something that is not beneficial to the community. It's only beneficial for you. So
okay. So are we saying that this is the definition of cliques?
Definition of clique is a small group of people with shared interests or other features in common who spend time together and do not readily allow others to join. Readily. That means you got to at least think like us. Have this in common.
What say ye? I'm just getting feedback. I'm trying to understand this here.
I'm getting feedback too, and based off the definitions of what a clique is like what Roland just said, is cliques are okay. They're not a bad thing. But I think one thing that Roland did say is that when the cliques are not clicking, I think that's where the problem lies in. When there's a clique over here and then there's a clique over here, and then there's confusion and there's someone manipulating the cliques in a negative form within the family or in the job or the workplace or into the community, I think that's when it can be a negative thing. But I think, cliques just based off the definition is not necessarily a bad thing. But just like everything in the aspect or in the line of polarities, you probably got some good cliques and you probably got some bad cliques, and you probably got some that's, all in between. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think that some of it real quick could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Like Roland said, the cliques need to be clicking, and if they're not clicking, then that could be a bad thing for the families and the communities and the workplace.
I got you. I was just curious. I just think the notion of clique goes against the whole concept of community anyway. But that's just me.
See, but what we do on Friday,
I think it's natural.
Saturday,
whether it's natural or not, picking my nose is natural, but I try not to do it in public.
No, not I wouldn't say picking nose, but talking
but you do
about
it.
Bible
so
study.
Is a clique anything more than a subgroup of people who are specialized or to do a group of things? Like in the community, there's a clique of people and they pick up trash. They get together and they like to hang out and pick up trash. You know what I mean? That's their thing.
That's a project team.
Project team.
Right. They come together for that particular cause, which serves the community. But if the clique isn't serving the community, then what's the purpose of the clique? Because we do it naturally, because we like each other. What about everybody else who don't like us? What about people who
don't? The clique needs to be serving the community.
Well, no.
If you don't,
I don't think so. If we're talking community and we're looking at serving community, everybody involved, I don't care what clique you're in, should be serving community.
Which is what you said no.
Clique, I didn't hear you.
Which is what I just said, and you said no.
No. I say no to jump in. But when it comes to the clique itself, like if I got a paper mache clique, because we get together about paper mache, that's all that's about. Hopefully I can lead them to this where this is, like when I was in school, I sang, played sports, and I did other things in the streets. Now, all that those are three different cliques per se, shared interests, and none of them came together for the community. But what I'm saying is, if we have a goal of building community, I don't care what clique you find yourself in. If you isolate yourself from said community, then you aren't really a part of it. You are detrimental to it.
See, I'm looking over here. I'm looking at the
See,
definition.
so
a
I
little bit
think a
more
lot of
in
people-
detail.
What'd you
All
say?
right, so
but
here,
I think a
here's
lot
mine.
of people
Oh, go
looking
ahead.
at
Go ahead, Kat. Got it?
my bad. I think a lot of people are looking at the exclusivity of the clique, and that becomes the problem. Like, if we are all a community, that's cool. Everybody in this community here don't talk about basketball. So when me, Coach, and Ro goes off and talk about basketball, and you don't join, you can't join that conversation because you don't talk basketball. You're not kicked out, but you're excluded simply by the concept of the conversation. So this is the crew I talk basketball with, right? So being excluded from that don't mean that I'm not a part of this community. That just means that these are people I can talk basketball with. Yeah. And so I think we're listening to words and got a bad feeling about it. But why can't my circle be exclusive? Why do I have to let people who don't serve the same interests as my community in my community, let alone my clique? You get what I'm saying? So even all because we are a clique that talks about basketball, we're still a part of the community as a whole. It doesn't derail being in the community.
I'm just snapping my fingers because I wish this was a court of law. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. Wrong one.
Shared interest.
So I'm looking at the definition again. It says a clique is a small, exclusive group of people who share common interests, beliefs, or social status. And here's the part where it gets me: tend to exclude others. So if we're talking about building community, and then the end of this definition says to exclude others, then
it's two separate things.
It's just making me think a little bit more now.
But see, the clique is not focused on community right now. It's focused on whatever they're doing inside that clique. It has zero to do with community.
Then that clique wasn't created for the community.
The community is solely separated. It has zero to do with it.
Then that clique wasn't created for the community.
But it don't mean that I'm not part of the community.
Thank you. Yes.
Your behavior determines that.
No, whether or not you support the community determines that.
But my point is, when I have a group that excludes others because we have a quote unquote common interest.
Yeah. Why would you
exclude others?
Yes.
Exclude others.
If you don't do this, you're excluded.
Excludes others.
Yes.
Okay. Again, I just wanted some feedback. I'm good.
Just like they forced them little clique that stand out in front of Walmart and say, you're gonna buy these little fat pills.
Project team. They came together for a common purpose that served the overall group that they're supporting.
Right. It's a clique. It's a little clique of a little.
But I can't join the Girl Scout.
I never said
it is an exclusive.
But some of those people, that's what they do on their time for that purpose.
Sure.
Because that purpose has zero to do with the overall,
But the community of the Girl Scouts, it does.
Yes, they in that community. But when they go home and take their little uniform off, they find themselves in the community and not the clique.
Okay, we're good.
So
good.
We're good. You're always welcome. Lisa Dove Washington, you're always welcome. Don't pay that no attention.
But
March
yeah,
Madness, so watch some basketball. So
it ain't March Madness yet, man. We got next week to go to
Well,
the,
it's coming.
yeah. But I'm glad we got on it. Let's go to 3.
Oh man, what the 3? I think that's 3.
We only on 3.
Yeah.
Gee.
That's 3.
It's
that
the
3? Oh no, wait. This one? Historical and societal
Yes.
examples? Yeah.
What are some historicals or societal examples of triangulation being used to maintain control over a group of people?
Clicks.
They would be considered some.
Absolutely.
Some. But historical.
Birth of a nation.
Okay. Remember, we talking triangulation. So.
Yep. There was a 3-letter agency that included one group of people, and they were communicating with other folks and excluding these other groups of people.
That's a few 3-letter.
Well, I'm talking about the 3-letter ethnic. Right.
I know what you're talking about.
Thank you. Okay. And then because of that, there was another group that was created to go against that group. I'm just saying, clicks.
One was created to go against that group?
To go, well, more so to protect that group, but also oppose that other group.
What you got Because when it comes to
I'm this one, I'm just like I want to know, like this the question I've been waiting for. Like I want to really make that connection on what triangulation really is about, really an example of a movie or historical social example. Like this is where I'm tuned in really hard right now.
Okay, I give you an example. So I've been watching Suits for the past couple of days. Got to get on the old one, and then I'm gonna get up to the new one. I get to LA shortly. And so what you'll find is like there's a hotshot lawyer. His name is Harvey, right? So Harvey got this young kid that's working for him, never graduated from Harvard. And then what they do, he constantly used this as a tactic. So the way he does it is he triangulates because he actually used the kid, Mike, to go do some work for him. And then Harvey will go talk to somebody else. And then later they converge on the person that they want to manipulate by asking them a question to where they think they got the upper hand, and then Mike comes in with some new information that really robs it and takes it away from them because they were talking to somebody else behind the scene that gave more information about the individual that they're going to go make this offer to. So originally, the original thought, they thought they were good, and so they thought they had Harvey in kind of like a bind until Mike shows up with this document and says, okay, except this is the thing that we're going to bring to the table now. And then Harvey would literally tell them what they're going to do. So what you're going to do from this point on, you're going to take the deal, and then everybody's going to be fine. So classic example of that's triangulation with using more than one person, right? Classic example, because again, even though Harvey was communicating directly with that person, he was communicating directly with that person with limited information. Mike had all the information. The other person on the backside was given all of the information that was needed. So when they converged on this person, they was pretty much trapped. Control. In the voice of Janet Jackson.
That's how I heard it too.
My mic was muted.
Oh, what you was gonna say?
Oh, I was but my mic was muted, so I sang. S-A-N-G.
When you watch the news,
everybody's talking about watching news.
Yeah, the news.
Yeah, and I get it because really we're not we people are not communicating with everybody, right? But you have the third party, depending on who you're listening to, right? One network telling you one thing, one network telling you the other thing, and groups of people are coming up with their own ideology of what's happening and what's not happening based upon the information that we're given. And if you listen to certain networks, they're going to give you one point of view. They're not going to give you both point of views for you to make a clear decision. They're going to give you the point of view that you should take from it, that's so when you're talking about currently social examples, those are social examples, right, of triangulation. So that's why we got bipartisanship, and then there's somebody else telling each party what they believe is wrong. There's not just necessarily the facts and the facts alone, it's the facts given with narrative to shape a mindset. So I look at that as triangulation.
I like how you threw that. I look at that. I look at the implementation of television, because when you look at television, historically, television has been led to lead people to believe. That's why other countries view our culture a certain way because of how they see it on TV. Like if you talk to a guy delivered my dishwasher the other day, he was from Africa, and he was saying how they view Black Americans over here. And then when he came here, what he learned because of what TV told him and how the TV depicted us and so forth and so on. So sometimes TV can be the liar that's influencing you to think some way about a certain person, a certain region. Every time I watch a show that come on TV and it Walker, Texas Ranger or something like that, and it's talking about somebody from Texas, they got a cowboy hat on, a big belt buckle, and a southern draw, and they living in the city. And I'm like, God, where these people at? Like, I know that sometimes, but it's not an everyday thing. But when you see it on TV, they speak a certain way, and then they move, carry themselves. They got them Wranglers on and things of that nature. So anytime there's manipulation of how a person sees someone else and keeping you separate from getting to know that other person, and that same entity is doing the same on the other side, that's triangulation, because those two parties aren't going to communicate with one another. We aren't going to communicate about our politics because, oh, you believe in such and such, so I think I look at you like this, or you think like this, or you wear this. And historically, we were taught to support either or. You couldn't support both King and X. You had to pick your poison, because one was this and one was that. So you couldn't support both and say, hey, they both are trying to establish the community and raise it up. You had to pick a side. And that's another level of divide and conquer, as well as colorism within the U.S.
So when we're talking about
Might
like
wanna look
the
at that.
media, when we're talking about the media, who's the puppet master? Who's pulling the strings?
I can't
Whoever's
say it.
paying the media.
I'm not trying to to
That's all
poke
I'm
no
saying.
bear. I'm
Yeah,
really
that's-
because like we
That's why I
said,
said
that
it the
there's
way I
a
said it.
puppet
The one that's
master.
the one cutting the check.
Muted, coach. You muted, coach.
You muted.
I would say elephant or donkey. This joker here gonna be on sick call. Look at him.
I was looking for a book, man, so I can tell them who without getting in trouble on here.
But it all depends on what you're looking at on TV as well. So that's the thing. Somebody made mention of the news. That's definitely either over here or over there. When you start looking at different programs, I think that might be a little different. I think some of the programs and things of that nature may be revealing of some things. Like I remember years ago, there was a movie with Harrison Ford called Clear and Present Danger. And I love that movie because it was like, yo, this is interesting. Like this could actually happen. So I think when you start looking at stuff like that, you have people who create TV series and movies and things of that nature that may be somewhat predictive of possibilities in nature. And then you have some that may be telling like what might be going on. Again, this is all subject to imagination, but again, you have to be in the right headspace, if you will, in order to be able to watch it and not experience anxiety going from that. Because if you go from there and then turn into this wild conspiracy theory, it's just because of this, that, and the third, then that might not necessarily be something you want to do.
And I think anything like that, you have to look at who has control over whatever it is that you're looking at, who has control over media, whether it be radio, whether it be television, whether it be the books that you read. And and that's why I read a lot of books. And in some of these books that I read, you can see like there's a certain level of control when you see the motion pictures and what they allow to be put out in the music industry. There was a shift in music. Me and Coach talked about this. There was a shift in music because even rap, hip hop used to be positive in nature, and then there was a shift. So everything that came out after that shift was derogatory towards the same people that were looking to put it out, and that's what was the major narrative. So societal or historical, there's always someone trying to pit another against someone. And whether that be in school or whatever, we can find ways to manipulate the system. But let me see what time. Hey, Coach, let's go to that first scenario. The actual scenario.
You got to read it. You want me to read it, man?
Yeah, I'm about to read it. I'm about to.
Okay.
Yeah, because dang it. See.
All right, scenario number 1. A family member continuously tells one sibling negative things about the other while pretending to be neutral or supportive. Over time, this creates animosity and distrust between them. One day, you overhear a conversation that makes you realize how this person has been manipulating both siblings for years.
How would you confront this family member without escalating conflict?
I'm not confronting nobody. That ain't got nothing to do with me. And all of it, brother. Hey, ain't got nothing to do with that. I ain't messing with it. Especially, I ain't gonna say that, but no, depending on who the two people are, no, I ain't touching it.
If it's your kids,
so that's my answer, huh?
What if it's your kids?
Oh, see, hold on, come back to me now. Now I gotta think of something.
Bring it in. Bring it in. Bring it in. That's my answer. Bring it in. We're going to have all of us at the exact same time. We're going to lay it on the table. We're going to have an honest conversation. You can't lie because you've been talking to me, and I'm going to need you to be honest about how you feel about all this right here. So we're going to have a group conversation and get to the bottom of it. That's my answer.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. Then I know my sons, right? So I don't think it would, for me, it may not be that easy, maybe with two of them, but maybe not with the other one. What if you got that stubborn one that's like, nah, it ain't that easy, So I think that if that was the situation and I had that, I don't know, I would try to, talk to both of them and trying to see, what really is the issue and see if whatever is going on could actually be salvaged. You know what I'm saying? I think it can be, but sometimes getting them to be able to see that it can be salvaged is the hard part. So I like exactly what you said, Coach. I like that. But looking at my sons, I think 2 or 3 would be willing, and I don't know about the other one. So,
and I think when both parties feel they've been manipulated, and you're talking to them so that hey, we can rectify the situation. It ain't what you think. Just come and listen. So I'm agreeing with Coach. Hey, because somebody got to be the adult in the room, and I know when it comes to kids, it's maybe a little easier, especially, for some of us. But when it comes to other people, you may have to sweeten that thing up a little bit so that they understand that this is for the betterment of the family. And if you want to be a part of this family structure, dude, we got to rectify this problem because we can't keep going like this. But go ahead, gang.
I think that's what I was about to say in a nutshell. But yeah, I don't know. I would, if you say, because the question is how would you address that person, and for me, it would definitely be in front of the family as a whole. All right. Now, Unc kind of went with his kids. Now, if I hear somebody manipulate my kids, I'm gonna give you one warning. Hey, stay out of my family business. Don't talk to my kids. Don't put them against each other, because then it's gonna be me against you. All right. Bottom line, I'm not playing about my kids. I understand, I get it, but y'all know me. I by the laying on of hands, leave my kids alone. All right. But if it's like if it's Rose kids or Dwayne kids or Unc kids or what have you, not that I'm not going to stand for your kids. You know, it's always different when you hear someone talking negative and trying to turn your kids against each other. But I would definitely approach that person in front of the entire family, because the behavior has to be exposed. Because sometimes people dodge accountability when you try to catch a one-on-one or what have you. So definitely creating a family setting, addressing it there, it would you have no choice now. Even if you don't accept the accountability, the family sees it and is aware of the behavior. And we can and people are more mindful now when Uncle so and so talk. You know, because we know, all right, he likes to cause drama. Cousin so and so likes to start drama. You know, so I concur.
I got one pause for thought real quick. And I'm looking at the question again, and it says, one day you overhear a conversation.
Mhm.
So does the fact that I'm overhearing someone else's business that ain't got nothing to do with me, does that play any part in any of this? Because that conversation wasn't meant for me, you know. So does that play any part in how I respond to any of this?
You beat me to the punch.
For real?
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I was waiting.
See, I think that we got to stop allowing BS to fester. We got to stop allowing people to manipulate other people within the family, because the family will never grow. The family will never come together as long as you got those people that, oh, you heard Uncle Rico over here telling this person some negative stuff about this person over here, and then he gonna go over here and do it over there. So we got to call Uncle Rico out. We got to bring him to the carpet, because if we allow him to stay and have the same liberties that he's been had, then the family will never move forward. So you got to call it out, like Coach said. Hey, we got to talk. Like, I don't care. You ain't got to like it. It may be confrontational at some point, but we got to get it out. And it's all in love. It's not meant to berate you or anything like that. But these are the standards that we're trying to live by, and you're going against it by sowing strife.
But so, and Uncle, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The point I was going to make is that, does it change your posture, your approach, or who you bring to the table? Because, like he said, and I'm glad you did, because I was going to do it as soon as everybody got finished. Like, you overheard it, so it wasn't like a conversation that was between you and someone else. You overheard it, and they may not have known that you were there. So, does that change your approach? Does that change who you talk to? Like that was the whole point. And Uncle, if I'm wrong, you know, by all means, tell me.
No, that's exactly what I mean. Does it change how I move in any of this? You know what I mean? How would I confront them without escalating? Should I even be confronting something that wasn't meant for me? Am I going to cause more confusion by, you know, and I get it. I understand at the end of the day, we want everybody to sing Kumbaya and be happy because we're all family. I get that. But just like people click, people manipulate, and people pull strings.
See,
you know what I'm saying? So
if you hear it,
some of these are just, or is some of these things just natural behaviors that we display as human beings? And I don't know. I'm just, I don't know, because I'm having not a hard time, but I'm really wondering how much I'm responsible for saying to anybody if I'm overhearing someone else's conversation. And I know we
If I'm
gave some analogies about, what Uncle Rico's doing and different things like this, but right now we're still on the surface level and we're just talking about animosity. We haven't really labeled a specific item other than just there's been some manipulation and some negative things about a couple of siblings. So we haven't really got deep on exactly what the specifics of these things are. So we're still at the surface level. So if you're at the surface level, then what I hear, am I responsible for what happens after I hear that as well? If something happens in the negative, so I also understand that part of it too.
Okay. Okay. I look at it like if I overhear something, that means, because Gary, you be jumping in. I thought you was about to jump. But if I hear it right then, no, I ain't gonna say, hey, let's have a family meeting. I'll sit right there and say, hey, say that again. Let me hear what you said. Because apparently I know you lying to this person.
Conversation ain't for you. Now
it don't matter. I know you lying to this person about that person. So I know you full of crap, but I'm gonna let this person believe the crap. No, I can't.
But that conversation, that's my thing. That conversation was between me and Coach. It ain't had nothing to do with you. But you just so happened to still be backstage and you heard what we were saying. But that wasn't meant for you. And now you go back and tell Daddy whatever we were saying. I'm just saying.
I'm telling, like, if you lying to Coach about Daddy, now I gotta, and I hear it.
But that's still between me and Coach.
It's between you. No, it's not, because I heard it. So and plus, if I want us to have and
it affects the whole,
I gotta say, hey, come on, dog. You know that ain't true.
Hey, man, but that's our common interest, though.
No, because he's lying to you.
I see what you did.
Unless you just like taking lies in, he lying to you. No, I know. But no, so you got to nip it in the bud, I think, and especially when you're trying to move forward.
I mean, I can definitely see it both ways, I know we've everybody came up with those old scenarios. If you catch your best friend's girl out in the club, would you say something or not? We've always had these scenarios, and I've always been kind of able to see both sides and not really know, exactly how I would do in those situations, because
I'm snitching.
See, certain things ain't my business. It all depends on, I guess, maybe depends on the relationship. May have a lot more to do with it too.
If you're my best friend, mine is yours. I'm snitching.
I just feel like, and I'm just staying with this, with the conflict that's put out. I'm looking at it as, if I hear you telling a sibling something negative about another sibling, right, wrong, or indifferent, right, you're creating drama between siblings, and it's going to divide the family. I'm going to address it right there. Matter of fact, even if I don't want to say nothing to you for pushing out the bad information, I'm gonna tell that sibling, hey, how about you go have a conversation with your brother or with your sister? Don't let somebody else tell you who your brother, your sister is. That's your brother. Because at the end of it, if somebody tell me something negative about my brother, I'm going to my brother. That's my brother. Right.
So right now we
need to have that conversation.
Right now we got say something, I don't know. And Coach, what's your final thought or vote?
No, mine doesn't change. I'm be honest with you, mine doesn't change. Like if we're family, then I'm gonna go to the person that's spreading the lie and pull them aside. So let me holler at you real quick. Like I was just passing through. I heard this. I know you wasn't talking to me, but listen, let's talk about this real quick, because at the end of the day, that's creating a divide. And if that's your intent, then why don't you just create the divide face to face so the divide can be complete? But at the end of the day, y'all siblings, let's get together. Let's hash it out. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna pull them aside and I'm gonna talk to them. But I'm not gonna do the family meeting thing like I said in the beginning, because at the end of the day, it wasn't that they were doing the whole triangulation piece and I got wind of the triangulation. I actually heard the lie. So now I'm gonna address the person that I heard the lie from. I pull them aside so we can talk.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Let's get that last scenario in.
Okay, last scenario. Give me 2 seconds here. You are working in an office where the supervisor is giving conflicting stories to employees, making them compete or distrust each other. One day you realize what's been going on and the tension that is caused.
How would you approach this issue? It's at work. And I know this one, like true scenario where supervisor, scenario like the supervisor is coming, he's telling the subordinates, hey, y'all need to work slower and just look like y'all doing a lot of work. And yet he's going to the boss and saying, because the boss is complaining about it, yeah, and he like, yeah, they working slow. I go out there and crack the whip a little bit. It's like, ah, no, you playing both sides of this coin. I don't know if you could say that, crack that part, but yeah, like what we're gonna do? Because I know I've been in situations where didn't say a thing.
Time to look for another job.
Yeah. There's somebody, if there's nobody above that supervisor that you can address it with because it's creating a toxic work environment, definitely got to go. And then secondly, if you address it with higher and higher doesn't correct the action or address it, time to go. Like, and both of those, it's time to go. Now, if there's an avenue to where I can speak, I can bring it up, and things will change, I'll probably, because when I get comfortable someplace, I'm comfortable. Not to be funny with it, but if things are changing and you see resolve happening, then maybe you're in an environment to where things can be affected. But I agree. If there's nothing you can do, if it don't move, it's time to get out of there.
So with the scenario, if it's the superior is pitting two subordinates against one another.
Bro, if it's me,
who?
I said if I see where the supervisor is giving conflicting stories to employees, making them compete or distress each other, I'm calling IG on first sergeant. That's what I'm doing. I'm calling IG, right? So in civilian terms, I'm going to HR or I'm going above their head. You know what I mean? It depends on the job I get. I get looking for another job, but what if that's the job you need? What if that's that high-paying job with the good benefits and all of that stuff? Then, hey, we need to get this joker up out of here. Like this joke over here causing more confusion and stuff like that. So I think that, sometimes you may have to go over your supervisor's head, especially if you're one of those low people. I think that, if I'm an employee, maybe that's what I do, especially if I don't feel confident that I can go and talk to the supervisor about it, especially if he's doing things like this, and I think if I'm a supervisor or on his level or something like that, maybe I will start with a conversation with him. Say, hey, look, brother, what you doing down there over in your shop, over in your office, that stuff ain't working, brother. You causing confliction and confusion and stuff going on over there, and that's bad for business for everybody. So like I said, I think if I was at a lower level, I'd probably go to HR or something like that, maybe. And then if I was equal to him or another manager or supervisor, I'd probably have a conversation with him first.
So my real answer, I think every supervisor, leader, whatever the case may be, have a policy to where you can actually come in and talk to them or whatever that looks like. And so at the end of the day, if that supervisor, that leader, or whatever has that policy which is in place, which most organizations have that anyway. That's a conversation that I need to have. To know a thing exists and say absolutely nothing about it makes me complicit. Now, I'm still looking for another job at the exact same time. Make no mistake about it. But I'm doing both. I'm going to actually have this conversation with that supervisor openly and honestly. And at the end of the day, if there's repercussions, now I'm going to HR because now I actually have a legitimate policy complaint. But just to go to HR and say, I believe this, that, and the third, and I'm not shooting against you. I'm only telling you how HR is going to respond. Well, is there any evidence that you can, you got the support that? Is there anybody who can corroborate the story? Like, what more information are you going to bring? And if I have nothing now, here's the issue I run into. This person may be very good friends or they have a very good relationship with HR. And like you said, I'm just that lowly employee. I don't mean that in a disrespectful manner. I'm just being transparent. So now maybe there might be some triangulation about to start happening between my supervisor, HR, and myself. So I kind of set the conditions for that to happen because all I had to do is go forth and have an honest conversation with said supervisor so that they can actually understand. Not that they didn't know, but here's the other side of it. Once an employee actually comes to you and mention it, knowing that somebody else is aware of what you're doing, now you start worrying about your job as a supervisor more so than the employee. I'm still looking for another job though, because they may have tenure, they may have different relationships, things of that nature, and it might get swept up under the rug. Y'all know how they do in those job places. Don't play.
You're right. I'm with you with that one, and I think within the military structure, we've seen it. I've seen it a lot, where people would treat people, soldiers, a certain way, and then as a fellow NCO, you had to go to them and say, "Hey," I had to talk to them, pull them aside. That was because sometimes you may think it's a certain way, but then when you talk to the person, they may not understand the gravity of what they're doing to the people. So now you can have a conversation where they can either change or get gone. But I'm with you guys when it comes to if I'm a civilian and the work environment fosters that type of climate, I'm looking for another job while at the same time I'm saying, hey, I know what's going on. And if it changed, cool. But either way, I'm out of here next time I, get this next job. But I love the dialogue. I love you guys' input when it comes to this whole triangulation thing. And it gives you food for thought of what you would do and how you want to see the community move forward without allowing those cancers or those people that aren't really in it for the community to continue to manipulate others under them or however it may be to keep people separate because we work together best together, not separate. So let's roll right into our final thoughts.
And this was a really good episode. I learned a lot this evening about this topic. I don't have any advice or anything like that to really share other than, I think it was a really good topic. I learned a lot about it. And I guess I want to say that, just be aware. I think sometimes if we are not focused, and I think sometimes we may find ourselves in a situation to where we may be manipulated and not even know it. And I know as we get older, we become a lot wiser to things. But I guess I just wanted to say, just pay attention, just open your eyes, and just making sure that, you are not victim of something like this, of the manipulated and, with everything that we talked about today. So, like I said, I don't have too much this evening. I really enjoyed the show. Thank you, chat, for everybody. And that's my final thought.
It's simple to me tonight, which is your community, you have to stand together. We have to protect each other. And we got to protect each other's name as well. You don't get to lie on any of the leases in front of me. You don't get to manipulate people's behavior in front of me, because the common goal is the togetherness of this community. It's the growth of not just the community, but the mindsets of the people in the community. So when we allow these things to take place, we just allow our community to move backwards in progression. I also would say you have to be mindful of what you allow other people to say to you about other people. That's another way that you protect the cohesion in the community, in the group setting, or what have you. Is I don't come to me and talk to me about drama. Don't come to talk to me about nothing negative. Whether it's about somebody I like or I don't like, let's leave that be. The worst case scenario, you could tell me, say, hey, I think you and such should have a conversation, and let's leave it just like that. Because it's not, I don't think we should be in the business of trying to form somebody else's thought process about someone else, because then you are the author of confusion. You are the author of drama, and that's not how we should operate. All right, that's all I have.
Sorry about that. Gotcha. I think this was a good conversation. I think a lot of people could connect with this conversation. We could relate to it. We've either experienced it from one end or the other. We were the person that was that someone used triangulation again, so we were part of the triangulation. Let's just call a spade a spade. And a lot of it is probably unknown. We just didn't know what it was. But here's the reality of the truth. It's rooted in most cases, it's rooted in insecurities. I know you heard us talk about narcissistic behavior disorder, but it's not just narcissistic. It's a couple of them. It's like 3 of them, to where you'll find triangulation as being a part of their expression, but it's rooted in a person's insecurities. That's where, in most cases, where a person will manipulate another person. When they go into the triangulation aspect of it, the whole divide and conquer mindset, what ends up happening is that they're looking for like some type of coalition to try to create their own little kind of like support system as it pertains to this individual. So we got to be consciously aware of this. Now, I would say get comfortable with having very difficult conversations. Go directly to that person and have an honest conversation with them. Lay all the cards on the table. Have an understanding. You know, if it's all about what you heard or whatever, that gives the other person an opportunity to come clean. If you were actually a part of that conversation, or like you heard previously, if you just happen to be ear hustling and you heard it being said, like, again, lay it on the table, have that honest conversation. I think that's the way we can get out of the notion of manipulating people. That is the notion that we can avoid this particular style of manipulation through the art of triangulation.
Short and sweet. Recognize patterns of behavior, encourage direct communication, set boundaries, seek objective perspectives. Don't let the person that is the manipulator control the conversation. Get a neutral partner, and hopefully when you start to recognize what's going on, you'll see that what's best for the community is to not allow things to fester, to not allow divisions within, because it has an effect on each person, whether or not it's you being manipulated or the person that's dependent on those people that are manipulated. Because no one likes to have the side eye looked at them by something that someone else has said. Yes, we thank you for being involved in tonight's conversation. We look forward to it every week. We thank you, and we are definitely looking forward to next week's conversation, which will be, I think it's on Gaddy. Okay, yeah, definitely on Gaddy on next week. You know where to find us on Tuesdays, and if you follow us in the the totalmindsetshift.com. You'll have a calendar. You'll have everything you need to know where to find us, when we'll be there. We'll be on Sunday. We will be on the Voice of Reasons platform, and then back on StreamYard Sunday for the Bible study. Tuesdays, we have the Coach's Corner, where these two fine gentlemen at the top, they come together and make stuff happen. They make sure that you know what should be done versus what shouldn't be done, and say it in a way that's palatable for each and every one of us. We appreciate you for coming out. And if we didn't say thank you for joining the chat, we didn't identify you, you know you got our hearts. So till next time.
We don't do no houses, we walk down.